Hey guys, what's up? It's Finch here. Today I'm going to be going over a really interesting game I had on the SSOU Spectre ladder. Now, you might be wondering what that means. That means that Spectre, a Pokemon in the SSU metagame currently, the Ghost Horse, is being suspected. So, if 60% of the people who qualify vote to ban it or more, then it will be removed from the SSOU metagame, just as a little reminder. And personally, I am in favor of getting it removed from the tier. I believe it's way too strong. Despite this game being a game where neither side has Spectra, in addition to that, both sides have Dark types. In fact, my opponent has multiple Dark types. So, it wouldn't do much in this game, but rest assured, I can promise you in other games it would do quite a bit of work. Regardless of that, there are some things that I really want to focus in on in this game and really give some perspective. So I'm going to go full analysis mode. I also want to note that I finally got Rex. Despite being considered a good player, it took me 59 games. It's the longest it's ever taken me. Admittedly, it was a frustrating process, but I'm here and I'm recording after it, so if I go crazy, if I lose my focus, if you will, you've been warned. But hey, here we are. Without further ado, let's focus on the game at hand. So I'm just using a chill grassy terrain team. It's actually from a couple metagame cycles ago. I don't like it as much now. I think Slowbro really is overtaking the niche of Slowking almost entirely. Nidoking, despite being seen here, has actually dropped a lot in usage. So one of the main niches for Slowking over Slowbro is dried out. And Lander's team Cinderace has picked up a ton in usage. And if you look at my team, it's pretty weak to a high jump kick variant of Cinderace. So yeah, without further ado, I have the dual grass core, which is pretty cool. If I could wear out his Corviknight, it looks great. And honestly, my Swords Dance Life Orb Kartana looks like a really amazing Pokemon in this matchup. It might be able to break through that Kartana with enough conditioning. Get a Swords Dance and a Switch, a +2 knockoff. If the item's still equipped, it's going to do a ton. Now, in addition to that, if I get any damage or I kill in a Tyranitar, then my Hydreigon actually does really well. Earth Power being able to KO Excadrill, and also doing a ton to the Weavile if not to killing it as well. And Weavile, who knows what set it is. It's actually pretty hard for me to switch into, so I gotta be careful around it. But regardless of that, Corviknight being the main thing that can check my some Dark Pulse, Earth Power, Roost, and Defog, so that'll be interesting. And Slowking allows me a lot of pivoting opportunities. The main things I gotta be careful around are A, the Nidoking if my Slowking takes any damage, or status, because that puts it into a kill range for Sludge Wave. And B, in addition to that, the Weavile. If it's not a choice band set in particular, it's going to be very hard to switch into and out of. My main revenge killers of it are weak to Ice Shard, and I have nothing really wants to take both stabs, so hopefully it's a choice band set and I can predict around it. If not, it's going to be dicey. My opponent here, Soto Makako, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, I'm sorry, but it looks like a really cool team on his end, and I'm really excited to play him. So yeah, at this point I'm like 2 or 3 games away from qualifying, no big deal. I'm pretty sane at this point. So long as I just win this, I'm cruising through the ladder. No big deal. So I lead off with my Rillaboom. Like, okay, it looks pretty good against everything in his team besides the Corviknight. I know right off the bat that I have a good chance of killing Nidoking with a Grassy Glide, and I always kill Weavile with a Choice Band Grassy Glide. I'm Choice Band adamant, and he can't kill me with an Ice Shard, so that would be favorable. That'd be favorable. This Pokemon, much like Nidoking, Excadrill, is in good chance to kill it with Grassy Glide. Tyranitar takes super effective damage, same with Slowbro, so those aren't living. So basically, it's a free U-turn on Corviknight to get me momentum, which means I can get my Heatran in and get Stealth Rocks up. And those are sequences I like looking for in the early game. How can I make incremental progress if I don't have something that can break through his whole team right off the start? That's a big thing. Getting rocks up, because all of a sudden that Corviknight's taking 12%, that Tyranitar's taking 12% every time they're dragged into the battle. And that's huge. And speaking of dragging things to the battle, I also have Roar in this Heatran for Sub-Spectre, so that can come in handy as well. So yeah, I go for the U-turn of the Corviknight. I don't want to knock it off. It's important. I don't want to knock it off because I got knockoff on Corviknight, and I want that to be powered up when I go for it. So I get the Heatran in. And unsurprisingly, he brings in his Tyranitar, which in my opinion is a really good play. You don't want to risk Slowbro to Toxic quite yet. Tyranitar's usually rests, so yeah, that's fine with me. He also gets rocks up by doing this, and I don't mind him getting them up. I even risk my Heatran to get that Toxic, because I know in Grassy Terrain it can't kill me in one shot. So yeah, I get my Landorus in here now on a double trying to scout for Earthquake, but he goes Slowbro, which is a great play on his end. Thankfully, he's Boots, not Helmet, so I can actually come in with a taking recoil, and I just bring in my Rillaboom here. Pretty straightforward. I just want to see what he's kind of going for. He gets a teleport off, brings into Corviknight. That's fine. Again, I don't want to knock it off quite yet, especially because I don't want to take a Brave Bird. So I just go Slowking here, knowing that he might have Body Press Freetran, and also knowing that if I bring Slowking in, that's to kind of queue in the Weavile, and I can figure out what I'm dealing with here. And the second it takes Stealth Rocks here, I know my chances of winning the game are pretty solid, because that means it's probably Choice Banded. So he has to predict right every time he comes in, or it's not going to do much. If he clicks Ice Crash or Ice Shard into Slowking, it's not going to be doing much at all. It's going to need multiple flinches, if anything, to make any progress from healthy. If he clicks Knockoff into Hydreigon, especially after the first one, which is going to be on the following turn, he's barely going to do anything. The first one's probably going to do about 35 from a Choice Band Weavile, but after that it's going to be doing less than 25, and that's definitely helpful for my cause. So Seeing as I am the Psychic type, I'm going to go to my Dark type, resist the Dark type stab move, knock off, and that damage confirms he's Choice Band. In fact, it might even be Choice Band Adamant, but I would be surprised considering how good Tornadus Therian is in this metagame. But regardless, I just get a safe Roost off so I can take follow-up knockoffs and whatnot. Tyranitar comes in, it takes Rocks and Toxic, but leftovers up a little bit. I go Rillaboom, knowing I'm fine taking a status move, a Thunder Wave or a Toxic, just so I want to see what it does, because I don't want to risk Heatran or Landorus T to an Ice Beam, because the latter players tend to run that coverage from Zygarde meta still a little bit. And I also know that this could be a U-turn on the Corviknight once more, which again is going to keep opening the game up for me to get Heatran in and just really get some chip on this. Because you notice now, +2 knockoff from the Kartana after Stealth Rock, you should be able to kill it. And +2 Leaf Blade kills everything else. So all of a sudden I'm in a great spot for Kartana if I ever get it in. And to add insult to injury for my opponent, I get a Lava Plume burn here. Now, arguably that saves him from getting Toxic, so what I do here, knowing he's going to teleport out, is just go for the Roar here, the slow Roar. That's actually really cool because Roar goes before Teleport, and we knew he was teleporting that turn, so that kind of cues me into what his game plan is. Teleport to get things like Nidoking, Weavile, and Excadrill in. So I go for the Roar there, brings out Tyranitar. That's chill for me, no big deal. I know that he doesn't have Earthquake at this point. When he's Stealth Rock plus Toxic, Rest has to be in last because Spectre in this metagame, and Rock Blast or Rock Slide seem like the most likely attacking move. Even then, I'd Grassy Drain up in case he went for it. But yeah, regardless, he gets Corviknight in here on my Hydreigon. He knows I'm the leftovers variant, so I'm just going for a flinch. He's physically defensive. I would to a KO, but he has some special defense, and no such luck with the flinch. That is fine with me. I go for it once again just to scout it out because I don't really need health on this anymore. Well, okay. So the second one was actually kind of sloppy because if he gets a body press off, then I could be in 2 kill range from knockoff despite not having an item. So that was unnecessary, but I get a flinch, and later on he reveals that he's not body press, which makes some sense because for opposing Excadrill, he has Slowbro. And on top of that, Brave Bird's important to 1v1 things like Rillaboom, Swords Dance variants, and currently he's very weak to that. So I kind of had some of an idea, but it was still an unnecessary risk to take at that point in the game. Regardless, I go Heatran here, and he just goes for a Roost, healing up that damage. So thankfully for him, that stroke of luck there for me didn't really derail his game. But now I know for a fact he's going back to Slowbro because I've kind of conditioned him into going for that sequence time after time after time. So what I do here is I get Kartana in. I'm like, okay, screw it. I'm fine just getting the +2 knockoff here because at this point I'm pretty sure he's not body press. And on top of that, I'm also fairly confident that even if I take a Brave Bird, as long as I get the kill on this Corviknight to trade on it, which I do because I live either a Body Press or a Brave Bird even after Life Orb damage, then I'm going to be able to do a lot of work with my Rillaboom and my Landorus T. And now that Rillaboom's on a timer with Toxic and Stealth Rock up, I definitely want to speed up that process. So I make an aggressive play here, predict him to go Slowbro, and now I predict him not to go for a Scald, and I just go for the Swords Dance on the switch, and he goes to fodder off the Tyranitar, which is good for me because, as I said before, Tyranitar dying makes it so that Hydreigon is a pretty big threat. It makes it so that Heatran forces in Slowbro every single time. There's no alternative way of approaching it unless you want to risk a ton of health on the Nidoking or these Pokemon dying. So I feel really good about this. I know that Leaf Blade here is fine, and even if he goes Corviknight now knowing that, oh, I'm going to go for Leaf Blade, there's a chance that +2 Leaf Blade with Life Orb into +2 knockoff from Life Orb after Stealth Rock actually can kill him. It's an outside chance. It really depends on the spread, but yeah. So here, I actually let go of the Tyranitar, which is amazing for me. And instead of going Corviknight, which is a roll to a +3 knock, or instead of going Weavile, which can go for the choice banded Icicle Crash or knockoff, put me in extra range, he goes straight to his Excadrill. So I'm like, okay, he hasn't brought out the Excadrill yet, so I'm thinking, let's really analyze this situation, because I do have technically Landorus T, which can live, and he's going to go for Earthquake presumably, because I have the Kartana. Iron Head wouldn't do anything, but even if it lives Iron Head, or I could go Rillaboom and get the Grassy Train up, and that's fine too. So I'm thinking, okay, this isn't one of those banned sand teams, if you will, where you'd run a choice banded Sand Force Excadrill with something like Dracozolt or other forms of speed control. And if it was Sand Force in that nature, it'd be slower than my Kartana anyway, so that's fine. So I'm thinking, okay, worst case scenario would be Adamant Life Orb. Adamant Life Orb can't kill me from this range, or maybe it has like a 1 in 16 chance of, but it maxes out in the low 80s is the point. And I have to Stealth Rock plus Life Orb, I'm at, well, really 84, but it chose 85. So, okay, I'm fine with that if I trade with this drill, because that's a 2-for-1 trade. That would mean I took out Tyranitar and Excadrill with his Kartana, just so he could save his Corviknight. Him saving the Corviknight for Rillaboom, pretty much. It makes sense, prioritization speaking, but I'm fine with the 2-for-1 trade, because now that I know the Weavile is, as you see, taking damage every time in prediction line, I still have pieces to pivot around that. I still have pieces to pivot around the Nidoking, so that'd be fine. He'd have no offensive pressure, and I could just eventually whittle him out, especially with Tyranitar being gone with Hydreigon and Heatran on my team. I'm fine with that. I'm also fine if he potentially just is a normal leftover set and he goes for an Earthquake and does 50 to 55%, and then I take him out and I'm barely alive with Kartani, and I'm in range for Ice Shard from Weavile, or whatever it might be, Sucker Punch from Nidoking, even if that's something that he was interested in running. I'd be in range of those. That'd be fine with me, because I'd still get to kill it, be basically a 2-for-1, plus the chance of saving this Kartana for later on and getting a knockoff off on the Corviknight, which I've been wanting to do all game long, as I've alluded to. So, ultimately, I'm like weighing out all the possibilities, and I'm like, yeah, this is great. I'm okay with this. And then, despite all of my focus, all of my intentions blasting ahead, if you will, it happened. The unthinkable, the truly incomprehensible, what was once a very fathomable, normal, standard game became unfathomable, incomprehensible, and simply substandard. The way the world functioned as we knew it derailed the same way the stock market has been derailing due to absolutely ludicrous activity that originated on Reddit. The mere fabric of competitive pocket monsters unraveled in a fashion simply beyond my anything, beyond my brain capacity. And I was left to pick up all the pieces and slowly, but surely dropped all the way down the ladder. One loss, and then another loss, and then another loss, and then another loss, and then another loss. And I'm like, wait, I'm supposed to be good. I'm supposed to be winning. I'm supposed to be applying my cohesive lines of logic, my well thought out game planning, my supposedly more experienced and potentially better strategy than all of these opponents, but all of a sudden, I'm on the losing end of one game, another game, another. Well, what is happening? Is this competitive Pokemon? Or is this a mere figment of my imagination and my whole sanity falling apart? What is happening? So, in conclusion, guys, if you face Focus plus Excadrill and then have a complete and utter existential crisis and then slowly tilt into oblivion, you are, in fact, YouTuber Finchinator. Have a great day.